Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Corner. You know, Andy's Corner is that special little place in the world where we sit back and have all kinds of conversations about heating and air stuff. And there's all kinds of stuff to talk about. So if you are new to the videos, I recommend go back to the channel, see some of the other videos that are on there because there's all kinds of stuff on there. It's not just heating and air. While you're there, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. That way you get notifications every time a new video comes out. If you're a current Andy's Corner HVAC subscriber, I want to say thank you. Thank you for all the support that you give, the comments that I see, the likes, shares, subscribes, everything like that, and just the matter of watching all the videos. So thank you for that. You know, I do appreciate it. So, you know, what I wanted to talk about today, I've done a couple videos here in the past couple weeks about heating and air technician myths and some of the myths and misunderstandings about how people think heating and air guys are, what we should be, how we should act, or preconceived notions, different things like that. And I got a fair amount of response from that. So, I got to thinking about it. There's a lot of heating and air myths about our industry altogether. And there's all kinds of heating and air myths out there that have came from all different places. There a lot of the ideas that I see are maybe it's from a way somebody heated their home 50 years ago. How they did it then is way different than how we do it now. We're using high efficiency equipment. We've got furnaces, gas furnaces, electric furnaces, heat pumps, air handlers, geothermal, all kinds of stuff out there. So it's way different now than what it was back then. So all these myths and misunderstandings, they may have been true at one point in time. And that's what I try to talk to everybody about is at one point, this probably was accurate, but nowadays it's not. Everybody understands that our world is changing rapidly, as far as what's going on, how we do things, what we do, and all the things that go along with it. But for some reason with the heating and air, it's, we're all stuck, or people are stuck in this idea of how we used to do things 50 years ago or whatever may be. So, I wanted to do maybe a series on several different heating and air myths that are out there. So after you're done with this video, make sure you hit the bell icon so you can see the other videos that come out to match this series. But, I don't have a whole lot of time today. It's cold where I'm at. And if you do heating and air, you know that when it gets cold outside, we don't have a whole lot of free time. So we'll see what we get through today. But one of the big ones that I see going in and out of people's homes is everybody talks about, well, they close the registers off, their supply registers. And, I get I guess the idea of what people are saying as far as, okay, maybe it's an older couple and all the kids moved out and there are, 3 bedrooms that they don't use anymore. And so they get this idea that, well, they need to close those registers off and close the doors, because if they're not using those rooms, well, they don't want to heat them. If they don't heat them, then they're going to save on electricity or save on the gas bill or whatever their energy usage is. And this is far from the truth. So people, if you're watching the video, please don't close your registers. Leave them all open. Leave all the returns open. Leave the supplies open. Come in and let a heating and air technician come in, a licensed, certified, knowledgeable heating and air contractor come in and explain to you some of the other benefits of leaving these registers open. Because, closing those off is actually going to do the opposite. You're going to consume more energy if you close those off. And then there's the matter of the equipment itself. Let's say, we'll use round numbers here. I don't know what everybody has in their house, what they're heating with. Let's just stick with a gas furnace. Very popular in our area, very popular in a lot of areas. Let's say you have a 70,000 BTU furnace. I don't know what size you have. Again, we're just using round numbers. So let's say you have a 70,000 BTU gas furnace and you have, pick a number, 15 supply openings throughout your house. If that's enough or not, it depends on what size they are and what size the ductwork underneath the home is. But like I said, round numbers, keep it simple. So let's say you've got 15 openings. That furnace was designed to produce, 70,000 BTUs. So no matter what is going on with the ductwork, it wants to produce 70,000 BTUs. Well, let's say, you take those 3 bedrooms that the older couple had that the kids moved out, and they close those, and let's say you had a total of 5 registers between the 3 rooms. And you close all those off. Well, now you only have 10 openings, for that air to get out. Well, that furnace doesn't know that. I mean, until something fails, then you're going to know it. The furnace is going to know it. You're going to know it. And it sounds expensive, right? Well, it probably is going to be, because now we only have 10 openings to get 70,000 BTUs worth of heat out, because that furnace is going to sit there and just keep producing heat. And it was built to produce 70,000 BTUs. So if it can't get those BTUs out, well, where do you think they go? They don't just disappear, or they're just not used, or, I mean, they're not used to heat your house. So, I mean, at that point, you're losing efficiency there. But, you know, those BTUs are staying inside that furnace. You know, they're staying inside that area that it's trying to produce them. It's trying to get it out, but it can't. So at that point, let's start with some of the parts. Let's look at a blower motor first. Okay, so if the furnace is designed and the blower that's on there is designed to push air, 70,000 BTUs worth of air through 15 openings, and now you only have 10, well, it can't get all that air out. And so it's not going to be physically possible to push all that extra air out those other 10 openings that are there. You know, that pipe, you know, if it's a 6-inch pipe, a 7-inch pipe, whatever it is, and that's not really 6-7 inches, you get the idea. If it's a 7-inch pipe, you know, it can only produce or let so much air through that 7-inch round pipe. So, you know, that air's not getting out. So at that point, it raises the static pressure, which I would like to have another video on static pressure. So look out for that one. That's going to be a good one. But, you know, it raises that static pressure. The easiest way to explain that, if you're not in heating and air, that static pressure is the resistance of that air going through that system. You know, you have to have so much air coming in through your returns, and you have to have so much air going out your supplies. And you have to have that perfect balance. You know, we have certain numbers that we're looking for to have perfect, ideal, total static pressure. So if the static pressure is higher, it means that motor's working harder. So, you know, the amperage is going to be higher on that motor because it can't get the air out like it's trying to do, because it was designed to move a specific amount of air. So it's trying harder. The amperage goes up, which means the motor runs hotter. And so, okay, now we've got issues with the bearings, because the bearings are running hotter than they're supposed to. It can't keep itself cool. So, you know, we've got bearing damage, winding damage, because the motor's running higher amperage, so it's generating heat inside that motor. We start burning off the insulation on those electrical windings or whatever may be in that motor. You know, there's a lot of different failures that can happen. Either way, we're damaging a blower motor. And also, not to mention the fact that if it's using, it's running on higher amperage, it's using more electricity to power this thing. So at that point, that extra amperage is making that meter on the side of the house spin faster and faster. So we're losing efficiency. So, I mean, look at the next part. We've got, say, an inducer assembly. You know, that inducer motor is on there. If we're not moving the heat out of the furnace, well, the heat's staying inside the heat exchanger, staying in that furnace. The flue gases are going to be hotter than what they are really designed to be. So that inducer assembly runs hotter. So at that point, the motor on that inducer, it runs hotter. Same thing as the blower motor. We're hurting windings, we're hurting bearings, and they're high RPM motors on most inducer assemblies. So, you know, those bearings aren't going to like that extra heat. The windings of that motor aren't going to like that extra heat that it can't get out. So at that point, well, now all of a sudden we lost an inducer assembly. Those little suckers are expensive for what they are. So now you've definitely lost all kinds of efficiency when you have to replace the thing. Or then you have the fact of the heat exchanger, which that's the important one. That one is a safety issue. You know, if we've got that 70,000 BTUs that we're trying to get out, but we can't get it all out, well, that heat exchanger runs hotter, just the same as the rest of the furnace. It's running hot. All of a sudden, you know, the metal in that heat exchanger, it can only take so much. We use better heat exchangers now. We've got stainless steel heat exchangers out there. We have tubular heat exchangers, which do much better than some of the serpentine heat exchangers, or I think even some of the old clamshell heat exchangers out there. But, you know, they can only take so much. So at that point, it runs too hot. Well, now all of a sudden, we've got a crack, we've got a split, we've got a blown out rust hole in the back where it opened up, a breach of some sorts. Even if it's the rings got hot and a ring popped off on a serpentine heat exchanger. All these things are breaches in the heat exchanger, which means anytime you have a failed heat exchanger, you have potential for carbon monoxide to be introduced into the home from your furnace. So, you know, at that point, it's definitely a life safety issue. So, not to mention that heat exchanger is going to be pretty expensive to replace if you do have to replace it. A lot of people move to just replace the furnace if they lose a heat exchanger. So, you know, either way, it's a safety issue. It's an expense to repairing the furnace, whatever it may be. And all these things added up, and there's other stuff in there, but I've only got so much time. So all these other things in there, they're all expensive repairs. So, you know, not to mention the fact that you're using more energy just to run the unit. Now you have all these repairs that have cost you so much more that you didn't have to do. And the longevity of that furnace is shortened. So that life expectancy is down, and you have to replace it at 10 years. 10 years old, you know, we shouldn't have to replace a furnace at 10 years most of the time, as long as it's taken care of, as long as it's running like it's supposed to, all that kind of good stuff. So, you know, if you add all these things up, you are not by any means saving any energy or saving any money by closing off vents in rooms that you're not using. So people, please don't close your vents off. You're not hurting, you're not helping anything. You are costing yourself more money in the short term and the long run. So, you know, make sure you leave these things open. Let these furnaces get the air that they need. Let them breathe. At some point in time, I'm going to have some videos, get a little more in depth on ductwork. I am a big stickler on ductwork and static pressure. These pieces of equipment have to have adequate airflow. And to be comfortable in your home, you have to have adequate airflow. So, you know, ductwork is so important. And it's one of those things that is forgotten or overlooked way too many times, especially in our area. I don't know if your areas are the same, but I know everywhere I've been around here, it's undersized ductwork runs rampant. So, you know, we have to be careful with that kind of thing. So, you know, that was my biggest thing I wanted to get across. The video ran longer than I expected it to, so we'll get into some of the other stuff in the rest of the series, you know, with some of these other myths and misunderstandings out there. But this is one of the big ones that I talk to people about all the time. Please, for the love of God, leave your registers open. Do not block them off. Do not cover them with furniture, and do not close them just because you're not using rooms. That is a definite myth and misunderstanding about heating and air. So if you have anything you want to add to it or anything you want to say, just feel free. Leave it all in the comments below. I love seeing the comments. I love seeing the likes and shares, things like that. So, you know, make sure you subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel. If you are, thank you. Again, thank you for watching. So anything at all, just let me know. Thank you and God bless.